Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Leverage AI for Resume and Job Search. My name is Patrick Holton. I'm the Executive Director of Graduate Business Career Relations, and we're going to spend the next bit of time today going over some strategies for how to prepare yourself for running your job and career search using your resumes, going up against applicant tracking systems, as well as the leveraging against the way these systems work. Sorry, my system was lagging there for a moment. So what we're going to be talking about is how you can prepare your resume to go against an applicant tracking system. So for those of you who aren't aware about what an applicant tracking system is and why companies are utilizing it, so essentially what an ATS or applicant tracking system is, it's a software solution that companies use to speed up their hiring process. It adds more efficiencies to the way that they're able to collect data as well as to move through candidates. So it allows them to speed up their process by scoring candidates against the job descriptions that they're posting. So what this does, it allows them to lower their costs because the computer does much of the work that humans used to do. So what that does is allows them to spend less time on all of the resumes that are coming in, but really focus the time on the candidates who are a better match for those positions as they post them. So what this does is it hopefully improves the quality of hires, and it allows them to really build their talent pools and really shape the candidates to the positions where they fit best. Now, almost all of the companies in the Fortune 500 are using some sort of applicant tracking system at this point in time. And 94% of them say that it has improved their hiring process, whether that be in finding better candidates or speeding up the process as a whole for companies and corporations. They do see, though, that more than half of the companies realize that they do lose good candidates using applicant tracking systems. The reason for that is not everyone has their resume set up and prepared to accurately be read by a system that is using artificial intelligence and machine learning to identify the core skills and the needs that are there by the companies. So what that does is, when you think about it, 75% of the resumes are actually never being seen by a human, because only the top 25% are actually getting moved through for someone to look at. What the applicant tracking system does is provides a score for each resume based against the job description. Then with that list, the recruiter is able to go in and do a reverse sort from the top down. So all they are looking to do is really take a look at the minimum number of top candidates to move forward to the round of interviews. I managed a corporate staffing function before I came into higher education. And generally, I would have 300 to 500 applicants for a particular position or role. And what I would generally do is look at the top 30 candidates who would come in through our applicant tracking system. And based on those top 30 candidates, I was hoping that those resumes would be enough for me to be able to fill that role. So I would only look out of 500. 470 of those resumes would never be looked at because their score was too low, unless I exhausted that search of the 30 that I was looking at. So that's what we're going to be spending some more time talking about today, is how you can prepare your resume for it, especially using a new tool that we have here at the university called Hiration that I'll be going into for a brief demonstration towards the end of the presentation today. Also, if you have questions at all during the session today at any point in time, feel free to use the chat function, or you can use the raise hand functionality as well, that if you'd like, that if you have any questions, that I can stop and answer any of the questions, or if you'd like, I'll save time at the end to answer questions as well. So here are a couple tips for you, 8 tips for on the front end, how to beat the applicant tracking systems. One thing is, gone are the days where you create one resume that you send out to every employer for every job you're looking for. What you need to start doing now is tailoring your resume towards the job descriptions where you're applying. What that means is you need to use the language or the group speak that that company utilizes for the different skills and technologies that they're looking for. This way, that's how they are having their applicant tracking system programmed, is to look at skills that I'll show you a bit more detail later, but that really is critical so that you're matching what the words and terminology they're using on their screen. So that's part of the piece of making sure that you're using the right keywords that are on your resume. Also using an easy to read format for your resume. And that doesn't just mean visually appealing, but it also means from a technical standpoint, so that you're using a format that is in chronological order, that really follows a basic design. So not getting overly complex with tables or columns, because the systems and databases, as it's turning your resume to feed into data tables, if you use images, if you use other things in there, the system doesn't know what to do with it. So essentially all it does is changes and converts it to a series of code. And then that code goes into one line of information and moves all of your other information later into different fields throughout the rest of the applicant tracking system, which then severely impacts your score, obviously, because you're not matching against what they're looking for in the fields where they're looking for it. Also, use a basic format for it. Don't get too fancy. Also, be careful of using headers or footers, because a lot of times the header and footer information is actually pulled out and not utilized inside of the applicant tracking system, or can also cause errors if there's information in there. Also, that I'll go into some of the more standard resume experience sections where you really want to be clear on things, where it's your work experience, it's education, things of that nature, where you really want to focus. Then depending on where you're looking to apply, save your file as either a docx or as a PDF as you're sending it along to employers. And just make sure you're looking as you apply. Some employers will request for you to set up specifically different file types to send your resume forward through. So just be careful to follow all that information and all the requests that a company has. Again, some of the standard resume headings or titles that you should be using, obviously, you have to provide them your contact information. Generally, what we're seeing now for contact information is your phone number, email address. We're seeing more and more that your home address is dropping off of the resume, that it's less critical for a number of the positions, especially if you're open to relocation. So that's more of a trend that we are starting to see. Also use things like your education, experience, skills. Then you can round out your resume using things like a summary, leadership and activities, or projects. Generally, the summary section is something that the people who have a number of years of experience would utilize. So this way, you're going to sum up your resume, all of what you've done in the last 5 to 10 years, into a few quick sentences up at the top, again, tailored to the position that you're looking for at that point in time. So you're pulling some of those keywords, again, that are listed multiple times in the job description, and putting that information into your summary. So it makes the reader want to look further on into your resume. And then again, for students who may not have as much experience, or if you're looking to switch careers where you haven't had significant professional experience, you can utilize projects, or you can use leadership and activities to help augment and fill in some of the gaps that you may have for specific skills or specific experiences that are being looked at. A couple other guidelines and tips for you in setting up your resume. Make sure that you're using your margins are generally anywhere from 1/2 inch to 1 inch. The font size itself should be somewhere between 10 to 12. Don't get too small and don't get too large on there while you're working on your resume. So definitely try to make it so that it's not microscopic on there. So you're using something like a 6, because just to get as much information and data on there as you can, because then that's really not going to be something that someone wants to look at if it's too small. Also, keep the one page, especially if you have less than 10 years of experience. I know that's something that's a challenge, but we hear that from recruiters more than a few times a year, that they really want to see the resumes at one page unless you have that significant amount of experience. I was on a call with the national recruiting team of Citi just earlier this week, where they also reiterated they're looking for resumes to be one page for there. So that's what they're looking for. And again, that's what we hear from a number of folks. Also, be careful on bolding. That's something that some people start to bold a lot of different information across their resume, thinking it's going to make information pop for you, but you don't know exactly what the recruiter's looking for. So the information that you want to make pop may not be what's critical to the recruiter who's looking to hire for the position. So really the pieces that you really want to do is utilize it more for your section titles, things like your degree and the university, company names, job titles. Don't go into the individual bullets and start bolding out different components of it. It gets a little bit confusing also for the reader to look through, especially as they're looking to spend maybe 3 to 5 seconds looking at your resume. You really want to have it in a way that it makes it easy and streamlined for them to get down the document as quickly and easily as they can. Also, make sure that you proofread your resume and have others look at it too, because you have to make sure there are no formatting issues. And from formatting issues, it's making sure that your font type or font size switches halfway through the resume, that you're all of a sudden that you have italics or something's bolded where it shouldn't be in there. Some companies will look at it and remove you from the process just because of that, especially if you're looking into something where it's going to have where you're going to have a large writing component to the position. They really want to see that you have solid writing skills and presentation skills. Also, make sure that you don't have typos or grammatical errors. And this is where it's critical for you not to just use spell check and grammar check, because you may misspell a word, but spell another word that doesn't make sense. And I see that all of the time. When I was back on the recruiting side, you would see that regularly, where you misspell a word wrong, poorly enough that you spelled a different word in there. So you just have to be very, very careful with that, because again, that's something that's going to chase an employer away, because they're going to look at it that if this is the most critical and most important document for you to get your foot in the door at a company, if you don't spend the time to make that look good, what's going to happen after they hire you? You're not going to be spending the time and having that attention to detail that you're going to be talking about in your interview to really focus on things if your document's really not in great shape. Now, again, stepping back for ways that your resume can stand out for you, you really have to look at the job posting and focus on what are the words that are being utilized multiple times in there. What are the skills they're looking for? What are the experiences that they're asking for you to have? And make sure that you're utilizing those inside the resume multiple times so that it's something that shows up for them. Because many of the applicant tracking systems will also have it for the recruiter, that it will actually highlight for them the use of the keywords that they have set into their resume, so that they can do that on your resume as well as on your LinkedIn profile. So that if they look at your profile or your resume, you want to have it highlighted in multiple different colors, because each different skill that they're looking for or keyword will highlight in a different color so that they're able to easily see where your strengths are. And also for those core skills that they're looking for, you also want to make sure that it's all towards the top of the resume. Because if it's everything that you've done in the 5 years, 10 years ago, that you haven't done anything with it lately, that could also set off some bells and whistles for a recruiter. Also, make sure that you're continuing while you're in your education and even afterwards. Make sure that you're getting relevant experience that's enabling you to build your experience, to build upon your skills. that may not always happen in your day-to-day work, but you may look at different ways to build skills through things like LinkedIn Learning, or using sites like Udemy, or other tools that we offer here through GBCR that can help you enhance and build your skills. Also, make sure you're using powerful action verbs at the header of each bullet, so that you're really talking about what you did. It's what your results were, not what was assigned to you, not what you were responsible for. That is one of the pieces that I see so often on a resume, and always tell some people to remove it, because just because you're responsible for something doesn't mean you did it. What you really need to focus on is, what did I do? What did I accomplish? What did I achieve? And doing that through quantifiable accomplishments, and using bullets that are going to really showcase that. So really focused on things, some of the examples here. It's not that you just managed a monthly sales team. How many people were in the team? And you had sales quotas or objectives to meet. How much did you beat those quotas by? And make sure that you're really being true to task on this. Don't exaggerate, don't expand on these different pieces of rankings on productivity, for how well you improve the productivity, any awards that you've received. Make sure that not only this information is accurate, make sure it matches what you have on your LinkedIn profile as well as on your resume, because that also sets off some red flags for an employer. If on the resume it's saying that I exceeded sales goals by 50% on the resume, it says, and then on LinkedIn it says 25%. Because I've seen that plenty of times, and I hear recruiters talk about that. And what they say is, what the thought is, that of course on your resume that your bosses aren't seeing, you're going to inflate your number and say that you did it by 50%, but on LinkedIn you're saying 25% because that's the accurate number. So if you have these inaccuracies, again, that starts going at your integrity. It starts going at and raising questions and flags for people that you really don't want a recruiter thinking about or looking at for you and asking those questions before they would invite you in for interviews or during the interview process itself. So you really want each of your bullets to have this type of information in there, of course, wherever possible. And what I'm going to do now is, first I'm just going to pop up some of the things for how you can schedule an appointment with us, or how by getting in contact with our office. Then what I'm going to be doing now is just shifting over to show you Hiration and taking you on a tour of that system, as well as the things that you can do within there. So I'm just going to switch my screen share for a moment. And now everyone should be seeing something that says my dashboard on screen. Okay, great. I see the heads nodding that it moved away like it should have for you. And with that, what you're going to see there is, sorry, it dropped off my screen for a second. This is the front page that you would see if you go into Hiration. And now I have different iterations. You can have multiple resumes up there. As I had mentioned, what you're able to do here is you can, as you're going to have multiple positions or multiple resumes for multiple positions or jobs, you may want to review them as well. So there are a couple things you can do. You can upload an existing resume if you have one and it's in good shape that you just want to tweak it. All you would have to do is you can click either create new resume here, or up on the blue tab, you can click it as well. Then you can click, you can click a template to utilize. This is where then what you would do is use whether upload or create a new resume. So if you have that resume that's already in good shape that you just want to take a look at and have it evaluated and scored, then what you could do is just click upload my resume. However, if you're looking to create a resume, you don't have a resume, or it's been a long time since you've created one, and you want to look at something new, then you would click this create a new resume. And what I would suggest from there, there's a blank template you can utilize that provides you steps and guidance along the way. But if you use the resume examples piece, that if you click here on the right, here you'll see a number of different position types or roles that we have sample resumes created that match specifically to some of these types of positions for you. So for example, if I were then going to click on a financial analyst, what it brings up for you is a template with information and data in there that would really help you to create your resume. Of course, what we're also going to highly suggest and recommend that you make sure that you do is make sure you change all of the information that's in here. Don't just think, oh, well, you know what? I don't have anything in my leadership and activity space, so I'm just going to kind of keep that in there. Because again, universities use standard formats. And when I was on the campus recruiting side, you would see that, 50% of the students from XYZ university would all have this same final bullet here. And what does that mean? That was in the template, and the students didn't go in and clear out all the template information for them. So they would just leave bullets in there. It seems simple, it seems funny, it seems easy enough that people should do, but people think, you know what? I don't have the information to put in there, so I'll just leave what's there. Nobody will realize. But guess what? A lot of people realize. So you have to be careful not to do that, because recruiters will see that, they'll look at it, and it does impact you as a candidate. So that's how you would do it to create the resume itself that you can work through. You can edit any of this information, which is whether you upload the resume or you use a template from here. You can actually work on the resume on screen. And I'm going to move over to another sample to show you what happens to the score as you start to change things for you. So now I'm just going to click over to another one that I had prepared already for you. And this one, as you'll see on the right-hand side, there's a resume review as well as a job match tool that the system offers, both of which are phenomenal resources for you. So what it does is, as you'll see here, the score on the side is 83 out of 100 for you. Don't struggle and really go after that 100, because then anything really 80 and above is seen as a good, solid resume. Obviously, if there are minimal tweaks that you can make to get it into the 90s, that would be great, but I wouldn't always strive for that 100, because sometimes, keep in mind, it's a system that's looking at it and reading it. There may be pieces to your background that you know are critical, are important to put in there. Or for a job description, if someone you know is referring you, is telling you to put that information in there, then you're going to want to make sure that you're doing that versus just getting that 100 score on this sheet. So what this is doing as the review happens, it's going to display the structure, and you'll see the results on all of the components of the structure of the resume. So it's saying that the structure of the resume, you have 25 out of 25 already, and that's based on your formatting, all of the basic information of that you're fitting into one page, that you have the right sections, all of that information, that you really have a solid resume there. You can also go through, it's highlighting and showing some of the critical skills that are there for you. And this is a marketing one. So this is a marketing resume now, just to let everyone know, versus that one that I had launched before was a financial analyst. So it's giving you a couple things that, from that industry perspective, here are a couple things that you may want to put in there as to really put on your resume that some of these different companies are really looking for. And then it gives the critical skills that it found, as well as then scores you based on your contact information, professional experience. And then the next component of it is the bullet level analysis. So for each bullet that you'll see this one here, right? It says drafted daily sales reports and maintained internal tracking documents for investors. That it doesn't have quantifying information on there. So you'll see on the screen, it has a little exclamation point on there saying, you know what, take a look at this one. Make sure that you have more information on here. So if you were to do that, so let's just say I drafted 50 daily sales reports and made internal tracking documents for 100 investors. See, now it's green. It updated it right there as I worked on the screen for you. So it's immediately rescoring your resume and telling you where you fall in there. So it helps out and moves your resume up and along, that now you can do that for each and every bullet, that you're able to make those edits and make those changes right on screen. The one thing, it also automatically saves it into the computer or online. It saves it automatically for next time you come in. One of the other things, and it tells you right up here at the top that it saved it at 12:45. So that's how you can see that the edits you've made are actually being changed on the system. What will also happen then is, if you'd like to, you can actually click to download the resume. And I'm just going to cancel that, but that gives you the confirmation, and you would click through then to download your resume to save onto your computer, so that then you can send it out again for you. So you can continue to do that, to go through this information. It's, like I said, it scores you as you're working through it, and you can work through each and every bullet to get those details. That quickly raises the score of your resume up into, in many cases, over that 90% threshold that you're really trying to get to. So it helps extensively in making your resume strong. Again, making sure that you are pointed, that you're having the information that's critical in the way of the skills to utilize and to display. Now what I'm going to do is show you one of the biggest and best pieces of this entire tool, which is the job match. So from a job match, what that actually does is, say I'm on LinkedIn and I'm looking that I want to apply for a job. So I see this marketing manager role. What I would do is copy the information from the job description. And I've already done that. So I copied it. And as you see, these are the job description components. I paste it in and click analyze. So what this is doing now, the system, as you scroll down over here on the side, it's telling you what are some of the pieces that are missing, the key and critical skills that they are looking for that you don't have referenced in your resume at this point in time. This is the part where I was saying that it's critical to look at the job description itself, because depending on how a recruiter has their applicant tracking system set up, it may not pick up specific information. So for example, if you look at the critical skills that are missing, it says marketing strategies. I have here on my resume, executing marketing strategy, but not strategies. And it's sometimes that will actually, if it's not programmed and set up for the keywords, it will actually not score you. But so I just moved that, and now I was a 67% match. Now as I'm going through, if I look and see that, if there's another thing that I can change in here really quickly, that will, let's just say, I will put in this, I'm going to change to that I took a brand strategies course. Now I'm going to click analyze again. Sometimes it takes a little bit as it's scrolling through. But see, I just jumped 10 points by changing 2 words or 3 words on my resume. And that's how simple it is for going against an applicant tracking system. When I went back and talked about all those things in the beginning, this is how it automatically scores. So if you think about that, just in utilizing those 3 words from the job description that I didn't have in my resume, I went from a candidate who was so-so to one now who is at 77% of a match for the job. If I went in and did a little bit more and was able to look at and see some of these other core skills that they're looking for and build those into my resume, it's going to just make me a stronger candidate. And again, it's, as you see what I did, it wasn't that I made anything up. It was that I looked at it and I saw that they're looking for, their terminology was marketing strategies versus strategy. That what I may have thought were the most critical courses or projects that I've worked on or skills that I have, that they're looking for brand strategies. I may have taken a course in it, but I didn't list it at the top. I may have done some type of a project that had worked on brand strategies that now I can fold into my resume as it's critical and important to an employer. So that's where you can do this against specific jobs, specific roles, and specific positions for you. And that's how it's very easy to just go in, copy and paste it right into this little box up here, click analyze, and then you're all done with what you need to do to really do that search. Again, then what you can do is download your resume for that, so that it makes it so that you're continuously updating, making edits, changing your resume so that it matches what you're looking for. You may want to even just going back onto this front page for the My Resumes. If you know that you're going onto your resume to work on a specific position, you may want to even title that this version of your resume, that you may want to make it, duplicate it, and do something where it's for the marketing, the merch source marketing manager resume. So that way, if you rename it, you go in here to work on it, then resave it, it makes it easier for you to go back and forth, just so that you keep really a clean version of your base resume, so that you have that to always work from, so that you can always start there, make a copy of it. And all you really need to do is, as you see here, as I scrolled over, you just create a copy of the resume. And when you create a copy, it just puts another block on the screen that would just create that another version of it that you can rename for you. So that makes it easier for you to work with as you go through there. So again, these are a number of the different ways that you can work to enhance your resume, to go against the applicant tracking systems, to utilize the technologies that we have here at GBCR to help prepare you for these types of things. And that's really the main piece of what I was going to share with you today. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this point.